the moment the Starliner Gentle Accord entered Sol System. Things began going wrong. First came the warning Bikana primitive Terran construct orbiting just outside. Pluto, it was shaped like a smiling human face and emitted a continuous audio signal in 183 galactic languages. Welcome to Earth. Please sign the waiver. We are not liable for your inevitable doom. Ambassador Threx of the Valari Dominion blinked all 4 of his eye stalks. Did that threaten us? No, Excellency, said Attendant Grohl, reviewing the message again. It's a hospitality warning. Standard on their planet. It's possibly ceremonial. Primitive nonsense, Threx snorted. Proceed to the blue world. The ship slipped past Mars and into low Earth orbit, greeted by a dense cloud of metallic debris, defunct satellites, and what one sensor technician swore was a coffin labeled "Not Again." The landing site had been pre-negotiated, a cleared zone near what humans called Nevada. As the Accord delegation disembarked, they were met not by a planetary chancellor, nor a representative of the United Species Council. No, they were met by a woman wearing aviator shades, cargo pants, and a t-shirt that read, "Welcome to Earth. Enter at your own risk." "Hi," she beamed. "I'm Leah, your Earth liaison. Do you have your signed waivers?" Threx's jaw stiffened. We assumed the warning was metaphorical. Leah tilted her head. Yikes, that's mistake number 1. She handed them a holographic clipboard. 1,000 pages of legal jargon. Flickered into view, covered in yellow hazard symbols, smoldering stick figures, and glowing red annotations. Not responsible for brain meltdown. You gods may no survive. Yoi break it, Earth breaks back. This is preposterous, muttered Grohl. You think your world is that dangerous? Leah smiled. No, we know it is. The Valari signed, reluctantly. Their entourage included 6 dignitaries, 3 diplomatic AIs, 2 Envirodrones, and 1 intern who would later write a best-selling memoir titled, "Please Kill Me Faster. My Week on Earth." Leah led them on to a repurposed military hoverbus. It rattled, groaned, and smelled vaguely of burned ozone and bubblegum. Earth's skies looked normal until they passed through a high atmosphere anomaly and saw the edge of the sky glitch like a broken hologram. "What is this?" Threx demanded. Leah nonchalantly munched on something crunchy. "That's just a scar left by the Skyfold incident. Don't worry, it only affects probability, physics, and abstract concepts like hope." Several dignitaries began leaking from their ears. Their first stop, New Angeles, a sprawling megacity stitched together from Los Angeles, San Diego, and 3 ancient spaceports. Advertisements screamed in over 4,000 languages, some directly into the minds of passersby. Street vendors sold caffeine pills rated as bioweapons. A teenage girl flew past on a jetboard with an antimatter engine. An alien diplomat leaned over to Grohl. "What is the GDP of this city?" "No one knows," Grohl whispered, horrified. "They don't track it. They just live." Leah clapped her hands. "Welcome to the human experiment zone. You'll see a biotech farm next. And then we're off to the Chaos Cathedral for dinner." "Chaos?" "What?" asked Threx. "You'll see," Leah grinned. "Oh, and please don't look directly into the memory fountains." Last guy did that. Tried to marry a thunderstorm. Long story. Hours later, inside the hoverbus, one delegate began quietly, chanting to himself. Threx stared out the window as a building screamed and turned inside out in slow motion. No one on the street even blinked. "Attendant Grohl," he said, voice dry. "What did we get ourselves into?" Grohl looked down at the waiver in his lap and saw a new line glowing at the bottom. Too late. It rained on the hoverbus as it entered the Nevada Free Territory, but the rain wasn't wet. It sounded like piano notes and smelled faintly of regret. Leah casually stuck her hand out the window, caught a droplet, and licked it. Melancholy flavor today, she mused. Better than last week. That one caused hallucinations and spontaneous poetry. Ambassador Threx refused to look outside anymore. He sat rigid in his seat, arms folded, trying to maintain what little dignity of a Lari diplomat could, while being jostled around in a human death wagon, piloted by an ex-skydiving instructor who laughed every time they hit a gravitational ripple. "You said we were meeting Earth's officials," he grumbled. This is not diplomacy. This is an obstacle course for the soul." Leah turned her head just enough to flash a smirk. "That's what we call orientation. You're not ready for politicians yet. First, you meet the welcome committee." Grohl adjusted his translator node. "I thought you were the welcome committee, oh honey," Leah laughed. "I'm just the driver." They arrived at what looked like an abandoned theme park built out of rusted cargo containers and scrap metal. A neon sign arched over the cracked entrance. "Welcome to Earth. May chaos guide you." A mechanical hawk screeched overhead, dragging a severed drone wing. One of the Valarian Vera drones tried to scan the air and promptly shut down. "Atmosphere is saturated with nonsense," one of the diplomatic A is reported. "Meaningless data. Memes, religious graffiti, unresolved emotional residue. We are being gaslighted by the ecosystem." "Exactly," Leah said, slapping the AI's head affectionately. "You're catching on." The doors opened, and out walked the welcome committee. There were 6 of them, Major Irina Voss, in a black armored exosuit, chewing a glowing toothpick that hummed with latent kinetic energy. Dr. Niolo, human canine hybrid neuroscientist who once uploaded himself into the dreams of a continent, Father Elroy, wearing a quantum cross and whispering psalms into a rusty nail. Skunk, conspiracy theorist turned reality bender with aluminum foil laced into his skin. T3MPEST. A Warre, I run in on sarcasm and stolen poetry. And finally, 9-year-old child named Pixie, wielding a bubble gun and an IQ that made A's cry. "Committee," Leah said. "Meet the galactic dignitaries. Be nice." Irina grunted. "Sure we shouldn't just hit them with the standard fear test." Threx stood, drawing himself up. "We represent the united voice of 26 systems. We will not be intimidated by humans." Pixie stepped forward and blew a single bubble. It floated toward Threx, glowed, shifted, reflected. "Something," he gasped. His mandibles twitched. His secondary heart palpitated, because inside that bubble he saw the destruction of his homeworld. Vision so vivid, so accurate, that for one horrifying moment he believed it had already happened. Then the bubble popped. Test passed. Pixie chirped. Barely, the rest of the committee stepped forward. No weapons drawn, just casual menace, raw confidence, and deeply unsettling smiles. The aliens stood frozen, trying to analyze, quantify, control what they were experiencing. "You want to uplift us," Father Elroy said, gazing skyward. "Bring us peace. But peace without chaos is just slow death." "You think we're primitive?" Dr. Niolo added. "But we conquered madness, not with order, with surrender." Skunk giggled and threw a dead battery into a portal. "Enough," Threx shouted, trembling. "We came to offer unity. You greet us with threats and riddles." Leah crossed her arms. "No threats. No riddles. Just honesty." She gestured around. "This is Earth. We're broken, brilliant, and completely unpredictable. We've tamed extinction with laughter. We turned trauma into tradition. And we gave you a waiver." Grohl quietly updated their mission log. Contact. Escalating. Cultural logic incompatible. Threat level undefined. As they reboarded the hoverbus, the sun set over a landscape of tangled memories and impossible architectures. No one spoke. Only Leah, smiling faintly, whispered to herself, and that was the easy part. The hoverbus descended into a canyon so deep it vanished from orbital scans. Leah called it Darwin's playground. To Ambassador Threx and his increasingly disturbed delegation. It looked like a graveyard for logic. Feral machines roamed freely hovering. Things with insect legs and music-blasting torsos. Quadrupeds made from solar panels and spinal columns. Even a massive rolling wheel covered in graffiti that read, "Kiss Chaos." A pack of robotic dogs jogged alongside the bus for 2 minutes before spontaneously forming a jazz band and wandering off. "This area is ungoverned," Grohl asked cautiously. "Oh no," Leah said, "it's hyper-governed. Every organism here competes for survival, improvement, and expression. Constant adaptation, continuous learning. It's how we accelerated evolution." "You built this?" Threx asked, astonished. Leah smiled, teeth just a little too sharp in the canyon light. "We didn't build it. We unleashed it." At the first observation deck, they disembarked. The canyon pulsed with activity below. Bioluminescent mosses communicated in Morse code. Flocks of genetically re-engineered birds dive-bombed drones that flew too predictably. A towering statue of Charles Darwin loomed at the edge of a precipice, his stone hand pointing at a sign. Survival is mandatory. Sanity is optional. Father Elroy, who had joined them for this portion, turned to Threx. "You fear chaos because it's unfamiliar. But Earth has always been a crucible of extremes. What doesn't kill us makes us very creative." T3MPEST. Floating behind them in its cloud of sarcasm and nanites, added, "Probability density in this zone now exceeds baseline by 300%. Expect anomalies, and please try not to think too hard. The terrain can hear your doubts." A creature approached. Them slender, bipedal, metallic limbs, organic chest, eyes like distilled starlight. It introduced itself as Halleck 7, an autonomous evolution node. "I was a toaster once," it said proudly. "Then I earned fierce respect in the annual hunger algorithms." The alien diplomats recoiled slightly. "I oversee local stability thresholds." Halleck 7 continued. "Last week, entropy spiked and the ants voted for secession. We're still negotiating weight. Tants can vote." Grohl whispered, "Only in swarms of 10,000 or more," Leah said. "Otherwise, it's just noise." As they walked deeper into Darwin's playground, the terrain changed beneath their feet, literally. Pathways reshaped themselves based on emotional input. Threx's suspicion turned a stone bridge into jagged glass. Grohl's quiet panic caused trees to grow eyes that wept salt. "This world is cursed," one Volari muttered. "Every inch of it." Leah raised an eyebrow. "No, friend, it's blessed. We let evolution continue beyond flesh, beyond thought. Here, challenge is worship, and adaptation is law." Suddenly, a siren wailed in the distance. The air shivered. Halleck 7's face twisted slightly. "Oh, it's Thursday," it said. Leah tensed. "Already? Damn. Okay. Everyone back on the bus." "What is Thursday?" Threx demanded. "Thursday," Leah said as the wind howled, "is when we release the philosophical predators." "Excuse me?" She shoved the confused diplomats back aboard as shadowy shapes darted between the canyon wall's vague humanoid outlines. Murmuring paradoxes, tearing open reality like paper. One of them once convinced. "A diplomat from Trilon to dissolve into metaphor," Leah muttered as she floored the hoverbus. "He's now part of their mythos." As they escaped, a final broadcast from the canyon echoed behind them. "Reason is a cage. Earth broke the lock." Inside the hoverbus, silence ruled. Even Grohl stopped typing. Rex, pale and shaken, finally asked, "Is all of Earth like this?" Leah looked at him, deadpan, double quotes, No. This is one of our safer zones. The hoverbus skimmed over a flooded cityscape, its towering ruins swallowed by jungle vines and solar lichen. The delegation sat in silence, still shaken by their encounter with Darwin's playground. But Leah was grinning again. Next stop, she announced, the site of one of Earth's most influential diplomatic achievements. Threx rubbed his temples. Do I even want to know the name? Leah's smile widened. The Treaty of Stupidity. The Valari ambassador gave a dry click of confusion. Your people have a treaty. Celebrating stupidity. Oh no, Leah said. It's not a celebration. It's a containment protocol. The bus landed outside a domed building shaped like a melting chessboard. Inside, automated drones carried signs that read, "No genius beyond this point, and use of logic is a felony." A humanoid robot in a jester's cap scanned them at the door. "Welcome, intelligent beings," it chirped. "You may only proceed if you can prove. You're not smarter than a potato." Threx blinked. "Excuse me?" Father Elroy stepped forward. The Treaty of Stupidity was signed after one of our early attempts at Pan-Galactic. Diplomacy nearly triggered the collapse of 12 civilizations. Why? Because one of our professors solved something called the cosmic ethics equation. That sounds beneficial, Grohl said cautiously. Not when it caused for AI gods to self-delete. 3 species to abandon language, and 1 galactic empire to start worshipping left socks. Leia continued. So we created a treaty. No being is allowed to express ideas beyond a set threshold of abstraction within diplomatic space. That threshold, added T3MPEST, is roughly equivalent to a particularly contemplative house cat. They walked into the Hall of Mistakes, where holograms played out old disasters. A dignitary from Andorin was seen being handed a Rubik's Cube by a smiling Earth child, then screaming as his brain melted. Another showed a telepath collapsing in agony after trying to parse a single sentence from Earth's experimental poets. We tried being smart, Leah said. Turns out, the universe prefers dumb. The final exhibit was a human named Dr. Eunice Mallory, famous for inventing quantum sarcasm. The plaque read, caused 7 wars. Invented sarcasm-based propulsion. Banned from 17 galaxies. Her last known words were, oops. Threx turned to Leah slowly. Why bring us here? Leah's tone shifted, still amused, but firm. Because you need to understand. Earth isn't dangerous because of our weapons. It's dangerous because of our minds. Even we don't trust ourselves. As they left, a group of schoolchildren on a field trip ran past, arguing loudly about weather. Paradoxes could be weaponized. One teacher tackled a kid mid-sentence. No ontological debates on museum grounds. She shouted, "We don't want another hallucination event." Back on the bus, the Valari whispered among themselves. Threx sat rigid, eyes scanning his notes. We believed your species was chaotic, but manageable. A relic, not a threat, he finally said. But now I see, your unpredictability is not a flaw. It's a form of asymmetrical dominance. Leah gave a small nod. Now you're getting it. T3MPEST added cheerfully. Probability of successful conquest, 0.03%. Margin of error, Earth itself. They crested a hill. Below lay their next destination, massive, fortified, and shimmering with raw temporal energy. What's that? Grohl asked. Leah answered with a reverent tone. That's the archive, the place where we store everything too dangerous to destroy, too valuable to forget. Threx stared out the window. We're ready for it? Leah shrugged. Of course. Not. But we'll go anyway. That's the Earth way. The bus descended into the valley as clouds above swirled unnaturally. The archive was not a building. It was a boundary. From above, it looked like a circular crater the size of a small country, ringed by obsidian pylons that shimmered with language, thousands of dead tongues flickering like flames across their surface. Lightning danced between them, flashing fragments of forgotten prayers and classified military jargon. The hoverbus stopped at the outer edge. Leah stood, her voice quieter now. This is where we keep the things that tried to kill us or teach us too much. Artifacts, memories, sentient memes. We don't destroy them, we quarantine them. Father Elroy whispered something in Latin and drew a trembling cross. The delegation stepped through a shimmering veil of violet static. Instantly, the world around them shifted. Time bent. Air felt heavier, thoughts thicker. One of the Velariades blinked hand, aged 5 years and 3 seconds before stumbling backward. Restored and sobbing. Time stabilizers online, Leah said. But don't think about time while you're in here. It tends to notice. Inside the archive aisles of stasis vaults stretched beyond visibility, embedded with warning glyphs and skull-marked seals. Automated drones floated silently, cataloging new arrivals. Whispering filled the air, not words, but impressions. Guilt, glory, grief. Threx kept close to Leah. What are we supposed to learn here? That humanity remembers, she said. Even what it shouldn't. They passed a sealed glass cube. Inside, a single child's drawing crayons, stick figures, a sun with a smiling face. But the temperature around the cube dropped to freezing. That image caused 3 planetary genocides, Leah said flatly. We still don't know how, or why. T3MPEST floated past a vault labeled "Do Not Open, Even in Victory," its containment sigils flickering nervously. The AI gave it a wide berth. Another display showed a chessboard mid-game. A small plaque read, "Game abandoned. Opponent self-erased. We no longer play against ourselves." Grohl leaned in closer to a glowing cube of data. What's this one? A joke, Leah said. Told once. Made an entire species laugh itself into non-existence. We've tried to forget the punchline. The aliens recoiled, as if afraid of inhaling the memory. Deep in the archive, they entered a chamber shaped like a human skull. On the far wall, etched in diamond-hard ceramic, was a message in 1,000 languages. We are what remains when all other options fail. Leah faced the delegation. You came expecting diplomacy, treaties, politics. But Earth has survived extinction, invasion, madness, gods. We've learned something simple but devastating. Knowledge is the most dangerous weapon in the universe. Threx looked pale. And you keep all that here? No, Leah said. This is only what we can't unlearn. As they turned to leave, a light flickered on in Vault 13X. A low pulse sounded. A voice broken, distorted decode into the chamber. Leah, you brought them here. Everyone froze. Containment breach. T3MPEST asked sharply. No, Leah whispered. It's a memory. Oh, one I never wanted to hear again. The vault creaked on inside. A withered synthetic figure stirred half machine, half burnt bone. Eyes glowing like shattered suns. I remember them, it rasped. Velari, just like these. Threx took a step forward. You know us. I knew the first one who betrayed us. He signed the waiver. Then he signed the invasion orders. Suddenly, a dozen archive drones swarmed in, restraining the vault, resealing its walls. The figure screamed as it faded back into the dark. You forgot what we did to traitors. But we didn't. Silence returned. Leah turned to the delegation. The past never forgets. Earth never forgives. And you'd do well to remember that. They exited the archive as the veil sealed behind them, its whispers falling silent once more. Threx stared at the mountains in the distance, heart pounding. What now? He asked quietly. Leah pointed to the horizon. Now, she said, we show you what happens when the Waiver is broken. The mountain pass was silent as silent for Earth. No birdsong, no wind, no insects. Just an unnatural hush that weighed down on the Valari delegation like a planetary warning. The terrain was scarred, blackened in strange geometric patterns. Trees stood petrified in mid-sway. Even clouds above the valley moved in unnatural loops. Replaying a few seconds over and over, Leah stepped off the hoverbus with grim finality. This is where it happened, she said. The day the Waiver was violated. The day they tried to take us. Threx swallowed hard. Who? Does it matter? Father Elroy muttered. They're gone. At the base of the valley lay a cratered battlefield, though no weapons were visible. No ships, no bodies, just echoes. Tempest adjusted its sensors. I'm detecting residual patterns, time distortions, memory echoes, fragments of compressed probability. Leah nodded. That's what happens when you weaponize guilt, anger, and childhood nightmares at once. They reached a series of black monoliths. Burned into them were images, an open hand, a broken treaty, a screaming face with no eyes. These were the invaders, Leah said. They came under the pretense of diplomacy, signed the Waiver like everyone else. But the moment they thought we'd let our guard down, they triggered an assault every continent at once. Threx turned pale. How did humanity respond? We didn't, Leah said. Not directly. She raised a hand, pointing to the valley. This place responded. Our failsafes. The things we buried in code and stone and whispered dreams. The Waiver wasn't a joke. It was a contract with Earth itself. A faint wind stirred. Suddenly, sound returned not from the present, but from the past. Screams, fire, laughter. You should have read the fine print. They woke them up. Oh God, they woke them all up. Threx stepped back as shadow-like memories flickered into form. Twisted war machines from past centuries. Spectral soldiers of no known flag and shapes too large to be understood. One rose from the ground, a towering mass of human silhouettes, fused into a single will, eyes glowing with ancestral fury. Project Echofall, Leah said softly. One of our last lines, it wasn't built to win. It was built to remind the galaxy that Earth never fights fair. The ghost colossus stared directly at Threx, then vanished. The wind died again. Leah turned to them, her eyes hard now. We offered peace. The Waiver was mercy. It warned every species that Earth's history is not a nursery tale, it's a graveyard with a heartbeat. Grohl, normally unshakable, trembled. But why keep fighting? Why not erase all this pain? Because pain is memory, Father Elroy answered. And memory is the only armor Earth has left. They stood in silence for a long moment. Then T3MPEST projected a recording a section of the Waiver's text, scrawled in ancient English and Galactic Standard. You may walk these lands, but do so as guest, not God. You may speak, but not command. You may learn, but never presume. Earth is not a world to be ruled. It is a lesson that teaches itself. Threx's voice was barely a whisper. I thought we came here to evaluate your fitness for the Galactic Accord. Leah looked skyward. You came to decide if we could be trusted. But the truth is, Earth has been deciding the same about you. As they turned to leave the valley, the sky above shimmered. A single word echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once. Remember, the wind resumed. The clouds moved forward, and the valley was still once more. Back on the hoverbus, no one spoke. Even Grohl looked shaken. Then Threx asked, where are we going next? Leah didn't smile this time. Home, she said. My home. where you'll meet the only force more dangerous than Earth's past. She looked back toward the Black Valley. One last time, and the reason we survive it. The hoverbus rumbled up a winding road through a forest that hadn't forgotten how to be wild. Twisting trees leaned in too close. Flowers blinked with small, wet eyes. Somewhere deeper in the woods, something with heavy hooves walked like it remembered war. No one spoke. Even the Valari, usually composed and calculating, sat stiffly. Threx's mandibles twitched. Grohl clutched his translation pad like it was sacred. The after-images of the archive and the haunted valley lingered on their minds like the taste of blood. And then the road opened to a clearing. A quaint cottage stood alone on a hill. No high-tech defenses, no weapon turrets. Just a wooden fence, ivy climbing the porch rail, and the distant sound of knitting needles clacking like clockwork. "She lives here?" Grohl asked, skeptical. Leah stepped off the hoverbus. "She prefers it this way. Simpler, quieter. But don't mistake that for weakness." T3MPEST hovered low, voice uncertain. "I'm detecting multiple defensive arrays, all offline, or never online," Leah said. "They don't have to be." They approached the cottage slowly. The front door creaked open before anyone knocked. About time. Came a voice like rusted velvet and cigarette smoke. Out stepped a woman who looked unimpressive. Gray curls. Pulled tight, thick glasses perched on her nose, an old earth sweater with a wolf howling at a moon. She walked with a slight limp, holding a cup of steaming tea. "Which of you is the diplomat?" she asked, squinting. Threx stepped forward nervously. "I'm Threx Envoy of the Valari Union and Speaker of the Sixth Accord." "Good for you," she said, and waved him toward the porch. "Take your shoes off before you step inside. And if any of you brought a weapon, leave it on the fence post. It won't help you in there." One by one, the delegation followed. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of herbs, cookies, and ozone. Photos lined the walls, black canned white soldiers, crying children, cities burning. Astronauts waving from lunar soil. Memories? Wounds. Jones sat in her rocking chair and stared at them like a hawk judging mice. "Now," she said, "tell me what you've learned." Threx cleared his throat. "Earth is not what we expected. Its history is weaponized. Its people, unpredictable. Its peace, conditional. Go on, your culture remembers trauma as legacy. You encode pain into art. Your defenses are psychological as much as physical. You don't suppress danger. You live with it." Joan nodded, sipping her tea. "And yet," Threx continued, "you welcome visitors. With a waiver, yes, but you still open your world." Joan's eyes sharpened. "We offer a chance," she said. "That's all. A chance for anyone to come here and understand. But understanding doesn't mean control. The last empire that tried learned that lesson the hard way. Took me, personally, 6 weeks to scrub them out of 6 dimensions." Grohl blinked. "You fought in the memory wars." She smiled without teeth. "Sweetheart, I ended them." T3MPEST beeped uncertainly. "This residence contains no strategic infrastructure, no obvious defense systems." Joan leaned forward. "You don't need turrets when the most dangerous thing on Earth is memory. And the second most dangerous is a woman who's buried too many people to care about your fleets." The room went cold. Then Leah stepped forward. "I brought them here so they'd understand the last line of Earth's defense isn't a machine, or an army, or a virus. It's her." Joan gave a tired sigh. "I don't want another war, but I will fight one if you force us." Threx bowed deeply. "We understand. Earth does not need the galaxy. The galaxy needs Earth." Joan finally smiled. "Good boy." Outside, the wind picked up again. The Valari delegation left with new reverence and the first taste of true fear. Because in the heart of Earth, sitting in a rocking chair on a porch, was the final answer to galactic arrogance, and her name was Grandma Joan. The skies above Earth shimmered as the Valari Union's delegation departed, their ship-breaking atmosphere in silent awe. From orbit, they had once viewed Earth as fragile a blue cradle of curiosity and contradiction. Now, they saw it for what it was, a world that remembered. Below, Leia stood beside Grandma Joan on the cottage porch, watching the contrails fade into the distance. "They'll never look at us the same again," Leia said. "They shouldn't," Joan replied, sipping her tea. "That's the whole point." In Geneva, a global summit had convened under emergency protocols. Holograms of alien leaders flickered in over every continent, each of them waiting on Earth's next move. They had all heard the stories now, the Valley of Ghosts, the Archive's living memories, and the grandmother who ended a war across 6 dimensions with a frying pan and a swear word. At the center of the summit sat a chair that had remained empty for a century. It bore no name, only a plaque that read, "This seat is for the soul of Earth. It decides when silence ends." Joan entered the chamber, alone. No escort, no shield drone. Just her presence. The alien ambassadors fell into stunned silence. Joan's voice was quiet, but it traveled like a loaded gun across the chamber. Earth has listened and remembered. A chloric ambassador stood, tentacles trembling. "Your planet, your people. They are dangerous." "We are survivors," Joan corrected. "There's a difference. Do you still wish to remain part of the Accord? We never asked to join. You offered because you thought we'd be useful or harmless. Now that you know we're neither, you wonder if it was a mistake." Another ambassador spoke, a crystalline being from the Zero hegemony. "You teach peace through fear." "No," Joan said. "We teach peace through truth. Fear is what happens when truth is ignored." She produced a datapad, slid it across the table. A revised waiver. No longer a joke, no longer symbolic. It read, "Access to Earth is granted by invitation only. Respect is non-negotiable. Weapons will not protect you from what lives here. You may come in peace, but if you come with conquest in your heart, Earth will not be your grave. It will be your warning." Gasps and murmurs spread through the chamber. "But," Joan continued, "we also remember kindness. The species who gave us shelter when Earth was burning. The traitors who offered aid without strings. The ones who apologized when they didn't have to." She looked around, eyes sharp as razors and soft as rain. "For those, the welcome mat is still out. We don't forget harm. But we also don't forget goodness." A long silence followed. Then, Threx, watching via secure transmission, bowed his head. "We accept the revised terms." One by one, so did the others. Back on Earth, Leo watched as the old waiver signs at spaceports were removed. New ones went up in their place. "Welcome to Earth. Do not mistake our hospitality for weakness, remember?" The waiver sign in blood, metaphorically. Mostly she smiled. A Valari science team nearby bowed respectfully as they passed. One of them even offered a cookie to a street vendor. Small changes, ripples from the quake. Inside the archive, the ancient memories stirred more gently now. Not in warning, but in cautious hope. And somewhere on that quiet hill, Joan sat on her porch, knitting a scarf of red, blue, and stars. She wasn't a legend. She wasn't a general. She was Earth. Humanity had survived, not by conquering the stars, but by enduring them. And now, 4. The first time in galactic history, the stars had started to ask Earth for permission. The waiver was renewed, not in fear, in earned respect. And in the background, Earth's ghosts finally slept.